once you have cut out your pattern, you are going to pin it onto your fabric. You need to pay attention to your instructions in your packet because it has you fold the fabric and lay out your pattern differently for each one. For piece 11 and 12, you will face them both face up so I can read the print that is on the pattern piece, and I'm going to fold my fabric in half with opposite selvages meeting. So, hot dog. So it'll be a nice long thin piece. And I'm going to pin my pattern piece, my piece 11 and 12. My piece 12 will go on the rest of that fabric that's crumbled up there. And before you start cutting, you want to make sure that you, here at the end, that you pin it so the edges meet, and so this part of my pattern is not going to be off the edge when I cut it out. For those of you who have the family on the front, you are going to pin it a little differently. One of your pieces you are going to put upside down, and the other one you will have right side up. I believe, let me double check, when you look here in your instructions, this is for the people who had piece 1 and 2. Okay, if you look, it gives you a layout for how to lay them on here. We're doing the pants. Okay, you have different sizes how you're going to lay it out. So most of you, all of you have either 10, 12, or a smaller or medium. This is how you're going to lay them out, just like that. Okay, both sides. And here's the key to figure out which way to lay them out. All right. So actually, you're going to lay both of those the exact same way. That's good. That makes it easy. All right. The next thing that you need to pay attention to is your grain line. So on your pattern, whether you have the 11 and 12 or the 1 and 2, you'll see this line down all the way down your pattern piece, and it'll say grain line. Mine says it right here. This is to make sure that when you put this on your fabric that it is straight, so that it doesn't get cut out crooked. So if you look, my piece is completely straight, and that's because I used my grain line with my fabric. If you have something printed on your fabric, it's easy, if you had a repeating pattern, to make sure that it hits the same spot throughout. Mine is kind of all over, so what I did is I looked at the edge of my fabric where my selvages are, and I want them to run parallel to each other, so they should be parallel. So I have one straight line and one straight line at the end. When you pin, okay, here's a pin that I've already put in, you want to pin it side to side, not going in, because when you start to cut, you don't want your pins to get in the way. So pinning them like this will prevent that from happening. When you pin, you kind of want to smooth it out and put a pin through all 3 layers. So through your pattern, through this layer, and then this is folded in half, so through the back as well. I've already started cutting mine, so when you're cutting, you want to make sure that you lay your fabric out on a nice flat surface and that everything is flat and not wrinkled up. And you're going to use a big pair of fabric scissors, and you're going to cut right along in long cuts. If you cut in short little shortcuts, then it has a tendency to be all, it'll look really jagged, and then later on that'll be really hard for you when you're trying to sew. Okay, notice here we talked about this in class. Okay, cutting your notches out. So I had you guys draw your notches going outwards, but remember that when you're cutting your fabric, you need to cut your fabric like that as well. Okay? If you have any questions, make sure you ask me. Before you start cutting, you need to have me check it. And I believe that is it. Until the next video.